Welcome on board, Mr. Vivek Chaand Sehgal, the chairman at Motherson, joining in on the show right now. Mr. Sehgal, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out and joining in on ET Now as always. I want to talk about the latest MOU that you've signed with Saudi Arabia. Tell us a little bit more about it. How do you see yourself benefiting apart from it, and aside of the automotive industry, of course?
Thank you very much for having me. Yes, we last week we signed this MOU. It's a very interesting and exciting thing for Motherson because all of our technologies are going to be in use and in play in Saudi Arabia. As you know, Saudi Arabia is a great kingdom where automotive was normally import was the main this thing, but now they have decided to ramp up the automotive sector in Saudi Arabia. And Motherson has got the chance to set up almost all its plants over there. Two car makers have already come in the kingdom. And we believe that this particular thing augurs very well for Motherson's capabilities, and as well, we'd probably be investing anywhere between 250 to $300 million over there, and various technologies will come into play. We've already got the orders from for some of the parts and things like that. So very exciting for Motherson to go there.
Than you to give us a color, not just what's happening with Saudi Arabia, but also what's happening with Europe, given the kind of impact that one has seen across industry because of raw material inflation, high energy costs, and, especially for your plants in Europe, I'm guessing. But now that energy prices in Europe have only gone up even further, I wanted to understand what is the situation on ground there, and how is it that you're coping and tackling this issue?
I think all the governments in the relative realm are trying to work out how to solve these particular issues. EU has already declared nuclear energy as green, so those particular plants will also come up. So I think they will sort out those particular problems. This is a challenge which is there. Nobody expected the war to go on for so long. But anyway, be that as it may, maybe in the long run, it's actually good because the governments have to come up with solutions, and especially with the winter approaching, the solutions are that much more necessary. So I think the governments are working towards that. Yes, we have already come to a very clear understanding with our customers that these particular things are now have to have a pass-through effect onto the customers. So I think in the circumstances, the production has to go on, and we are going on. And I believe that the understanding is very clear that all these particular variables are going to be passed on to the customer.
Good morning, Mr. Sehgal. Since you were just right now talking about the war, the supply side constraints, I thought I'll just pick up a little bit more on that. All of this news that we are now getting from China, whether it is to do with a slowdown, drought, power shortage, and of course the military drills that are taking place near Taiwan, how big a problem can this be? How big a challenge can this be for your company?
So I think, one very simple thing we have always reiterated, and that is 3CX10, which means no country, no component, no customer, more than 10% of our turnover. So that actually mitigates all these particular effects. But I think on the other hand, you are also seeing there is tremendous amount of monies and all that, and benefits that the governments are coming out with to mitigate these particular effects. So we are hopeful that all of this, all the governments will come to their good part of it and sort out these particular issues. But in the meantime, automotive will continue to grow. So that's the bottom line of it. And we have to adjust ourselves with the government's asks. But by and large, I don't see any problem for the company or the group.
Just going to mark this one, Mr. Sehgal, just coming right back to you. 277 rupees, new listing, and it is a chock-a-block listing, a bumper listing. First IPO after a long gap, and it's a company where you do have a sense that if PLI picks up, design company like SGS Sarma should benefit. Mr. Sehgal, good morning, and always a pleasure to connect with you. There was a real fear around the disruptive element in the auto industry. But now more and more realization is coming in that ICE and EV, they both will coexist, and while the change will be slow. What happens in that scenario for a company like yours?
So we are agnostic to the engine and the powertrain, but it augurs well because all our businesses will have double the, the the production, because you have to produce IC engine also and electric or the other alternatives as well. But I think you're right. This whole particular phobia that people had, that suddenly all IC engines will disappear, doesn't make sense to me. We have approximately about 1.3, 1.4 billion cars in the world. We produce 88 million cars a year. Tell me, how long does it take for you to, if you stop tomorrow morning, only electric cars, it still takes you about 17, 18 years just to change over or to uh, have the existing cars. So I agree with you 100%. And I think it will be much more slower than what the governments are trying to force up. But let's see. It's something which will play out.
So what is the trend you see? Could be a multi-year, more like a mega trend in the auto ancillary space?
Yes, I think people who are having the patience and understanding how difficult this particular change is, I think they will do very well in the future.
No, I'm saying according to you, what is the big mega trend in the auto ancillary sector? I mean, let's say the next 3 to 5 years, you see that happening because at the vantage point you are at, when you speak to your customers, when you speak to OEMs, how is the automotive space going to be different? There was a time all of us thought that cars would be bigger, which is what has happened. Cars are much more efficient, which is what has happened. Cars are much more, what should I say, much more, there's much more electric component in them. So we've spoken about some of these trends in the past, and they've played as per the script.
So I don't think too much of change is going to happen in the next 5 years, and that's what we are really concerned about. Because I think this whole particular jargon that was being given to us, that this is going to happen, that's going to happen, and suddenly all auto components companies are going to be in trouble. I think that has been put to rest finally. The auto components are the actual creators of the car, because whatever the car companies design, and then they make it happen to exactly what the car maker wants. So I think the specialization of converting the car makers' dreams into reality is with the auto component makers. So we, of course, would love to know what's going to happen in the future. But believe me, our focus is just to convert the dreams of the car makers into reality.
Convert the dreams of the car makers into reality, and that is the job of an auto component manufacturer, is what you're saying, Vivek Chaand Sehgal. And in fact, data that has come out from the industry body ACMA recently, has come out with some very big figures, a 21% like growth as well as far as exports go. For the second half of the year, when people like you are also coming on ET now and saying a lot of the supply constraints have been taken care of, inflation is trending lower, where will we see exports versus the domestic market?
I think India is a very important market, and anybody who ignores that is a big mistake. Definitely, India will grow, but also we see the same happening in the Americas and Europe. China definitely has been in the lull for some time, but I think it's going to pick up very well. So definitely exports and all that would happen if the company is geared for that. But my personal preference has always been to onshore, to produce in the countries itself, because that reduces the kind of friction that the business creates. So by and large, we are in a clear mindset of Motherson is that if your export is more than 5%, 10% of your turnover, move into that country and find ways and means by which you can produce there.
Mr. Sehgal, we haven't met you in person in a while. I know you've always living out of your suitcase when you're running a managing global business like yours. So I really hope we get a chance to meet you very soon, either in Delhi or in Mumbai, and I look forward to interacting over a cup of coffee.
Thank you very much.